We'll go on live. Fine. Right. So today is chapter 18. So we have come to the end of this 18 yagna. We are done. The journey is a very long journey. And so it's moksha sannyasa yoga, the perfection of renunciation. Okay. So we'll give a prayers to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshulmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapada Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Swarijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Nrittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutte Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpaturapyascha Kripa Sindhu Avayevacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desacharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we have come to the 18th chapter. So what did we see? There were a lot of things Krishna was telling us. So we found the true key to happiness. Mohat. Here, finally we see Arjuna will be smiling, even Sanjay also will be smiling. So the conclusion is that it offers a lifestyle which will make one smile at all stages in life. So that's what we are going to see. So let's little recap of yesterday's Arjuna's inquiry about unauthorized worship. He said when they are if they have some faith in something and they worship that, then what is their success? Okay, then Lord Krishna answers that depends upon the modes. Their 3 modes of nature determines their faith and worship. And he talked about the lifestyle, the food and sacrifices. And he also talked about the austerity of body, mind, and speech. Speech is very important. So austerity in the 3 modes. Then he talked about the charity also, we said, and how should we be very discriminate in that. Then finally he concluded that Om Tat Sat, that is sacrifice, charity, austerity should be offered to the Supreme. Then only it is the right thing. So that's what he concluded. Om is the Vishnu, that is our supreme goal. And Tat Somi about our activities for the Supreme. And Sat, the performer, is the eternal. So that is what he concluded in the last chapter. So now in this chapter again starts with a question by Arjuna. And actually this chapter is like a summary. He summarizes the whole thing, what he talked from the chapter 2 onwards. Chapter 2 was like a introductory summary. Okay, here it is conclusive. There he addressed all the doubts of Arjuna. And he told him, and when Arjuna said that he doesn't want to fight, that time he addressed all that. Okay, and he said, and that was like an introductory summary. But now in this chapter, his conclusive summary. And here, he will talk about a little bit of karma yoga, freedom from bondage through karma yoga. Then the 5 factors of, see, this karma yoga is not that easy to understand, isn't it? And we keep on, when there have been doubts like, we are the doers, are we not the doers of the action? That always keeps revolving in our mind, right? And the first third of Bhagavad Gita was on karma yoga. Then from chapter 7 to 12 was on Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Then from 13 onwards to this is the Jnana Yoga. So Karma Yoga, he finally in this chapter, he gives us the supreme advice. And here he again talks about Karma Yoga, then 5 factors of action. Then again it touches upon 3 modes, how it controls everything. Then purification through Varnashrama Dharma. So he tells how we can purify our actions. Then Brahma platform. What is the confidential knowledge? Finally, he gives us a supreme vacha. Then pure bhakti, acting in Krishna consciousness. Then finally, the conclusion we see how Arjuna concludes and Sanjaya concludes. He says, Etra Yogeshwara Krishna. Okay, that's what we are going to see in this particular chapter. Again, this chapter starts with Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasaya Mahabhavo Tattvam Ichchami Veditam Tyagasya Sa Irikesha Pritak Keshina Sudana. O mighty, Arjuna said, O mighty one, I want to understand the purpose of renunciation, that is Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa. O killer of the Keshi demon, Rishikesha. So again, now there's a question. This question has been popping up, in all during the chapters we saw, this keeps popping up. These are frequently asked questions. Okay. So he wants to know the difference between Tyaga. What is the purpose of renunciation and what is the Sanya? That is order of renounce. One who has renounced. So because we work in this world, we always have some activities, that is karma. And because of that, we attract karmic reactions. And that implicates us that in a web of complexity. We saw how we are always that sinful reactions are there. So one may question whether renouncing work is safer path. That keeps coming into our minds. So now Arjuna is asking for the meaning of these two words. And these doves are like demons, it controls a controller. So he's addressing Krishna as Rishikesha and Keshi Sudana because he killed Keshi, the demon, and this demon is something like our doubts, So he's so you have done that, so you must also help me to clear my doubts. So he's asking, Arjuna is asking Krishna. So Tyaga or Sannyasa. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavayo Viduhu Sarva Karma Pala Tyagam Prahus Tyagam Vechaksanaha. Supreme Lord said, to give up the result of all activities is called renunciation. That is Tyaga. That is, offer the results, not the activities. Okay. So that is by the wise. And that state and the way you do the state you are in, that is called the renounced order of life. That is sannyasa. So by great learned men. So he's telling us we have to give, he's again stressing on giving up the results of actions. But why he's saying that is because there's a confusion will always be there. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up. But there are yet other sages who maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. So because if that helps us, and if these things are done for Krishna consciousness, then why should we give up those activities? It should be done, and that will help us to purify us. So we should not. So there are people who declare that fruitive activities should be given up, but there are sages who say these acts should never be abandoned because that will purify us. So, and when in doubt, we should ask the Lord. Yajna dana tapaha karma na tyajam karyam eva tat yajno danam tapaschaiva pavnani manishina. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. He says should be performed because these sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. So he says So he understands that even learned people or sages, they always have this doubt. Why should we not give up the fruitive activities? But he says these acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should not be given up because it should be performed, because what it does, it purifies us, even the great souls. So here we have Daksha is here, who is having a goat head, and we have is doing performing sacrifice, and we have Lord Brahma, then Shiva, and his Lord Vishnu is coming to give the benediction. But why is Daksha having a the goat head? Is a story in the given in the Bhagavatam. He says Daksha was son of Brahma, okay, and he had a daughter called Sati. We know that, and she and he had to get her married to Shiva because Brahma, his father, told him so. He gave, but he didn't like. He was not. He was very much envious of Lord Shiva. In fact, Lord Shiva was topmost yogi, and he was envious of Shiva. But he didn't like so much, but still he accepted him as a son-in-law. So what happens one day when he was going to perform an yajna, that time when he comes little late for the yajna and all others acknowledge his presence, but Lord Shiva was in samadhi. Luckily, he was always in thinking of Lord Vishnu, so he did not acknowledge him first. That makes him very angry, and he becomes, see, I'm a father-in-law and all that, and he's not even acknowledged, not honoring me. So that with that he insults him a lot at that time. And then, but Lord Shiva will never talk anything. He didn't want. He simply walks away from the yajna because the more he sits there, it will be Daksha will keep on insulting him, and he didn't want to think. He didn't mind. He just walked off. But again, another time when Daksha will do yajna, but he won't invite Shiva or his daughter. So daughter comes to know and says, why has my father not called us? But he has invited the whole everybody, all the devatas, Brahma and all that. So she wants to know why he has done, why he is insulting Lord Shiva. So she comes. That time he insults the daughter also. He won't even accept. So then, though Shiva had actually told Parvati not to go, but she goes. And then she didn't like this, the way the father was doing the thing, because it is not good for him. She tries to come and convince him that it was the not proper way and that he is being very very proud, with his false ego, he is behaving like that. But Daksha wouldn't hear and he insults her also. That time Shiva gets very angry because he doesn't like, if the insult was to him, he didn't mind, but it was insult to her. She was a pure Vaishnava, no, Sati, and he didn't like that. That time he comes and with his power, then only he shows his powers, and there will be a big fight, and then he cuts off the head of the Daksha. So at that time, Brahma and all come and pacify Lord Shiva and says, please forgive him. And he has done it with ignorance and all that. So then later, Shiva will forgive Daksha, and he says he is only fit for having a head of a goat. So he get a goat head. And then Daksha finally realizes what a great soul is Lord Shiva. He asks for his forgiveness, and then he performs the yajna. So only then will Lord Vishnu will come and give him benediction. So this sacrifice. So these are the when sages, even great souls, all also will be in doubt. They will not think. So false ego is something which will be there even with the great souls. So he says sacrifice, charity, and penance is required for purifying the all of us, even the great souls. This is the example. And Krishna here says it should be performed. See, when there is something which should be done, he is very affirmative. When he said, no, you should, as a person, you have to worship him. So he says that. So that way. So should be performed. Then all these activities should be performed without any expectation of results. They should be performed as a matter of duty. So that is my final opinion. So he says all these activities should be performed without any expectation of results, right? So And then now comes to the question of prescribed duties, how people who are in different modes of nature, how do they address it? So here in these three verses, 18.7, 8 and 9, this is how he says. People who are in mode of ignorance, they don't bother to about, because they are illusion, they are deluded, they don't understand what the prescribed duties are, and they don't want to do it. Whereas people in the mode of passion, they find it very difficult to do. They think, why it's so difficult to do these prescribed duties, or they are very scared of doing it. So out of fear and difficulties, they don't do the prescribed duties. Whereas good people and goodness, they consider it as the duty and they perform. So this is how the people on different modes of nature, they are. So Krishna says you should perform. So there's for people in think they will just perform it without any doubt. They just do it. So now Krishna is going to talk about the activities. I said, no, he gives more light on the karma yoga. So now he says, O mighty armed Arjuna, learn from me of the 5 factors which bring about the accomplishment of all action. These are declared in Sankhya philosophy to be the place of action, the performer, senses, endeavor, ultimately the supersoul. So how do we understand? So here we are given a picture of the marketplace. So in a marketplace, what are the performers? A place of action is the marketplace, right? And there are 2 kinds of people. One is the buyer and the seller. So, and these buyer and sellers, so the seller will put some endeavor, no? He'll have some effort and all to put up a stall and everything, and he'll bring the goods and everything. and even the goods and all. Whereas the buyer also will have to have some endeavor. He has to have some money, to buy all these goods. So he also would have done the endeavor. There is an effort. And why do we need the senses? They need the senses like the eyes and ears to see the goods, to talk to them and to find out the things, all that we need. And ultimately, there should be a super soul who will sanction this act. So, unless these are the 5 factors. What are the place of action? Marketplace, performer, buyer and seller. Senses is you use your sense, your ears and thing. Endeavor, the effort being put by both the people, and ultimately the super soul. So unless anything, accomplishing or any action, all these 5 factors will be there. Okay. And also suppose if you want to build a temple or a factory, what happens? You need the place of action. Then you need the people, architects, then laborers and all that to plan the thing. They will do that. And then you need the endeavor, means you need money, you need time and everything. And finally, you need to have the sanction by the super soul. So here this is what is given in Sankhya philosophy. And here he talks about it to Arjuna, saying that these are the 5 factors which is involved in the action. So sometimes we go off into a false ego and think that we are the only one who are getting it done. But there are so many players. So here we have to give our due to all these players. It's not that we are the only one who's doing it. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Okay, they are. So he says we have to give credit to every player involved in the action. And then he goes one more further in this. This is what is the motivation. What is why people get motivated to do the action. Here for that he says, knowledge, the object of knowledge, knower are the 3 factors which motivate action. Then the senses, work and doer comprise the 3-fold basis of action. So what do we mean by that is that suppose we want to travel from one place to another, right? Then and why do we want to go? We might be something, we have to deliver a parcel or something to another person who is living in another city. So I know how to go, I have the know-how, I have the knowledge. And the object and what is the thing? Purpose is to deliver the parcel. And the knower is me. So unhappy. And all this is done at the mind level. Okay. So unless we take action, unless we take the car and the next day and perform that action, then only it gets then only it gets done. Otherwise, if I don't take the car and travel to that city, it just remains as a in the mind itself. And here, no, there's a given in this picture which is given by Prabhuji, no, is that this is the when you want to play a basketball game, then you should have a knowledge of that game, isn't it? And the object of knowledge is that you use this ball to play the game, right? And the knower is you. So you should have the knowledge and you should have a ball and you should be also know. So only with these factors are there, then you are motivated to act on it. And of course, once you do it, then you need your hand and your thing to actually complete the action. So now he's going to, so if you don't have the working senses, then the action is not accomplished. Otherwise, it remains at the subtle level, that is in the mind itself. Now, in the following verses, what is he going to say is, now the following slides, rate yourself from 1 to 3 based on which category you fall under. 1 being the lowest and 3 being the highest. Okay. So what is that? He is going to talk on many things. There are 3 kinds of knowledge based on the modes of material nature. So now, see, last chapter, in the chapter 17, he talked about food in the 3 modes of nature, worship in 3 modes of nature, austerity, then charity, in all that in 3 modes of nature, isn't it? The mode of goodness, mode of passion and ignorance. Now he's going to talk about more things which fall into the modes of nature, the knowledge. So here that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all existence, undivided in the divided, is knowledge in the mode of goodness. What do you mean by undivided? The soul is in there in all the living beings, and divided is its Paramatma is there in all the living beings, and the individual soul is there in each individual soul. Okay, is divided in different bodies. Okay, so that is one who sees that there's a soul in every body, and Paramatma is also residing. That is the knowledge, mode of goodness. But that knowledge by which a different type of living entity is seen to be dwelling in different bodies is knowledge in the mode of passion. Here he differentiates. He cannot understand that there are bodies that, is more by the body level. Okay, he's under body level and doesn't see the soul. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all without knowledge of the truth, and which very weak said to be in the mode of darkness. So these kind of people, they don't want to see anything beyond the self. They want to only satisfy themselves. They don't want to even think of anything else. So they're always only self-centered. Here, they think there are different type of bodies, and that. So this is the knowledge in different level. We see others as we see ourselves, isn't it? Then there are 3 kinds of actions based on the modes of material nature. Okay, so modes of material nature. And what is that? As per actions, what is that? In actions in accordance with duty, which is performed without attachment, without love or hate by one who has renounced fruitive results is called action in the mode of goodness. So he knows what is his duty, and he does it only because, as we saw, his prescribed duty, he knows that. So he will just do it without attaching to that, nor loving it or hate nothing, and he has renounced the results. Okay, he's supposed to be, that action is supposed to be in the mode of goodness. But what we see here, but action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires, and which is enacted from a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion. So they work, we do see, we do see in our day-to-day life that people are there, who work very hard. They want to do big festivals, or they want to have establish a big industry. They're fully convinced that if you don't do this, I will die. Like, that kind of thing. They want to do it. So they will be performing it with a great endeavor, right? That kind of action is supposed to be in the mode of passion. And that action performed in ignorance and delusion without consideration of future bondage or consequences, which inflicts injury and is impractical, is said to be action in the mode of ignorance. So they don't see anything. They don't see whether it is right or wrong, or whether they have harmed anything. Actually, those kind of actions which is affecting or they'll cause injury to others, it is known as the action done in mode of ignorance. Okay. Then, so this is how the rating is given, 3, 2, 1. And this is happening all around us. Not that it is, Krishna is telling something very impractical, or it's not been, yeah, it's not real, but it is there, which we see today also. Then there are 3 kinds of workers. So we saw knowledge, we saw action. Now we're talking about workers. They are based on the modes of material nature. So what does he say for mode of goodness? The worker who is free from all material attachments and false ego, but is enthusiastic and resolute, and who is indifferent to success or failure, is a worker in the mode of goodness. So this can happen only if you are working for Krishna, because that will take away the attachment and the false ego. And all other activities will bind us more and more, isn't it? Only when we work for Krishna, devotional service, that is the only one which has no sinful reactions. So this is like an example. You can take a sannyasis who has taken up preaching. They don't bother how he's going to travel or anything, but his aim is to preach the Krishna consciousness, and he will keep moving. He won't sit still. Okay. So that kind of activities, or anything which is free from attachments. So that is done. Those are the workers in the mode of goodness. But that worker who is attached to the fruits of his labor and who passionately wants to enjoy them, who is greedy, envious, and impure, and moved by happiness and distress, is a worker in the mode of passion. So why do people take up big projects? They want to earn money, isn't it? What is the motivation? They want to enjoy. That is the desire to enjoy. And they want to enjoy fame, assets, and all that. So this is supposed to be, such kind of workers are in the mode of passion. And that worker who always engaged in work against injunction of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, is a worker in the mode of ignorance. Okay. So this example we can say, and that is for take big projects. And this is an example we can take upon a casino, who are they're setting up a casino. It's actually, this activity is not there in the scriptures. And if somebody visits that place, what they do, they always be cheating and insulting each other. And why are they playing? They want to earn money in a fast manner. Okay. And they don't want to work. They are lazy, and they think that they can do better tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. So that kind of thing is, workers are in the mode of ignorance. So then now he moves on to talk about intelligence. So we saw in knowledge, action, workers, now about the intelligence in 3 modes of nature. That is given in 30, 31 and 32 verse. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, that understanding is established in the mode of goodness. Like people here know very clear, when they won't even think twice whether to go to a cinema or to a temple. They know they have to they want to go to the temple. That is the best. So no doubts about it. So like that. Whereas here, the mode of passion, understanding which cannot distinguish between religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done. That imperfect understanding, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of passion. So they know, but they are not so they may not have the morals, the strength to act on it. They might know what is good and bad, but they may not have the strength to act on it. They might get easily misled by their friends or with the association. So that that kind of, if you are in that kind of intelligence, that imperfect understanding is in a mode of passion. But that understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, that means they totally misunderstand. They don't, they think that, like, there are some hippie civilization, they worship something like pig or something like that. I don't know. So they are under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives always to be in the wrong direction. They'll go always in the wrong direction. So Partha is in the mode of ignorance. So that type of, they can't discriminate properly. So now comes to determination. So determination also, there are three modes of nature. So many things is been listing out. How people are in different factors, how do they act on it? O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and thus controls the mind, life, and the acts of the senses, is in the mode of goodness. That means by abhyasa, practice, and vairagya, detachment. So they do that, the yogic practice, and they will be situated, their determination is unbreakable. Okay, how is unbreakable? Because they were continuously having practice and vairagya. This is the thing which they followed, isn't it? When Krishna says, no, how to control your mind, it is possible only by constant practice and vairagya. So in fact, some will say, how can I chant 16 rounds and all that? Starting it to be very difficult, but slowly when you practice it, it becomes, there will be no shortcut. You will be able to do it. So he says you can control the mind and think. Those are the ones who are in the mode of goodness. Determination. You have to determine. You must be fixed in your decision. Okay. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and science gratification is of the nature of passion. So they get bored, there are many motivational speakers, in our life. We can see they say, you do succeed, you try, and don't bother about the failures. You will succeed in the end. And they give a lot of motivational speak. But all that, is only for, it's like in a mode of passion. They only say about the fruitive results, how to help get your results. So these kind of people are determined, only thing they are only focusing on the results. Fruitive results, whether it's a religious practice or doing yajna, for sacrifices to go for higher planets and all that, or economic development, anything, they are in the nature of passion. So their determination is in that direction. But that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, you might want fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such intelligent determination is in the mode of darkness. So you might wonder how the dreaming is coming here, no? Actually, there are some people, who always like to lament. They'll be sad and they will keep on complaining. And however much you try to tell them, to look in the positive direction and to look beyond things and to look at, out of the box and don't bother about the sadness, they don't. They like to be sad. They want to lament. They want to be fearful because they are attached to that feeling. They are attached to that feeling of sadness. So they are determined to be sad. So what can you do? You cannot help them, such people. No, there are such people. So some that is they will try to sleep longer because they cannot go beyond that. That is, that kind of determination is supposed to be in the mode of darkness. And we do find people, such people, right? So even if you try to reason out to them, you cannot help them. So only by abhyasa and vairagya, we can, determination, we can control the mind and be in such acts in the mode of goodness. Your example is the motivational talks, and we saw that. Now, even happiness also, there are modes of material nature. So knowledge, action, workers, then we saw intelligence, then we saw determination, now happiness. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but the end is the just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So whatever we've been talking about, it might be difficult to understand, but slowly, if you start getting into it, then you will be on the path of self-realization. Okay. And then when you are in the path of self-realization, you will be said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Okay. But that happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be in the nature of passion. So in 5th chapter also we saw the sparsha, that is sense objects when it comes to us, and we in the beginning we'll think it is very nice, like and then like say wine or thing, in the beginning you might think it is very happy and all that, but in the long run you will get into some disease or the other, and it's said to be not the thing. So actually material world is like this. You see a lot of advertisements, lot of things. You please take this. This is wonderful. This yoga practice is good. This yoga is for your to achieve in the office success. So many things we keep getting thrown at us. Lot of advertisements and all that. So people living in India are subjected to such distractions. So these are the things, when if you get succumbed to that, then we are in the mode of passion. Okay. And here, that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be the nature of ignorance. So I'll have to some more there. We will, because it's a long chapter, so let's bear with me. And so this is very, so knowledge, action, workers, intelligence, determination, happiness, we saw all in the 3 modes of nature. And then finally it says, one who can see the living entities in the all innumerable forms. It's not only Paramatma, and sees the soul and the Paramatma in all. That is known as, then he is in the mode of goodness. O son of Printa, that determination which is unbreakable and is sustained with state partners by yoga practice and activities of mind life, said to be the mode of goodness. We saw that. Now comes the kinds of ashramas. This is the varnashrama, he says, based on the material, because he talked about prescribed duties, isn't it? When he talked about the prescribed duties, he also talked about the modes of nature. And then in chapter 4, we saw that varnashrama dharma depends upon the guna and nature and our the order of things. So that is based on the guna and not based on the birth. Okay. So now he's talking about that 4 kinds of ashramas. Some, that is peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the brahmanas work. So it's not by birth. We have to, a brahmana is one who has these qualities. Only then we can call him as a brahmana. And there will be his nature, no? His nature is to be studying Vedas and all that, that kind of thing. So his work will be in that nature. So, and how they can study such wisdom, Vedas and all that, unless they are peaceful, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge. Then these are the qualities by which a brahmana has to work. Okay, only if he has this. Whereas for the Kshatriyas, heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership. So these are the qualities the Kshatriyas have, leadership and generous, and they should be powerful, heroism and determination. Whereas for Vaishyas and Sudras, farming, cattle raising, and business are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas, and for the Sudras, there is labor and service to others. Okay, this is the qualities of work for different ashramas. So just because you're born in a Brahmin family doesn't mean that you'll get all these qualities. You have to cultivate them. Unless you cultivate, you won't get such qualities, right? And you have such a In fact, Vyasdev says that everybody in this Kali Yuga, their education is not right. Okay, and so we are all like a Shudras. So Shastra says that this is the way the qualities of the work are there for each class of work, that is Brahmana, Ashrama, we call that, four kinds of ashramas. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. So let us see what's more. Why is it? By worship, and what of these people do? They will help each other. They have, and we need all these four kinds of people in any society, and they will help each other in the spiritual life. So by worship, because for them everything should be God-centered, Krishna-centered. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, whichever ashrama he is in, performing his own duty, he can attain perfection because for him is the Krishna consciousness. So if he does it in whichever order he is, whether he is a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Shudra or a Vaishya, he has to perform his own duty and he will attain perfection. Right? So this is the basis of Daiva Varnashram. So here clearly Krishna says that who is all pervading and he is performing his own duty. Okay, now comes the question, how people cannot do their own duty. So this picture is very nicely illustrative to this example. Here, there's a competition given to these all living entities. And what is the competition he's giving them? He's saying if the first one to climb the tree, he wins the competition. So now you see the reaction of these different entities. The dog will be telling, see, what he thinks this person, is he mad? Can't he see that I can't even climb? And he's telling her, and he's giving this competition for us. Now the seal says, I think I better merge myself. Why I have come to such foolish people? I hope this earth will open up and I will go under. That's a seal's reaction. And the fish is so surprised. It keeps his mouth open and says, I can't even come out of the water. And then he's asking me to climb the tree. Is he mad? Then the elephant says, my God, if I just go near the tree itself will fall off. He's so bewildered. And how I can do this competition? The seal will say, no, penguin will say, I can only hop around on the snow. How can I climb the tree? The only people who are very happy in this competition are the bird and the monkey. So what do we learn? It doesn't mean that because these living entities cannot climb the tree, that they have no potential. Each one has got his own strength, isn't it? So they have their own potential for Krishna consciousness and they have to act on it. So whatever we are talking about, this Krishna consciousness is personal and is very personal and we cannot copy any. So that's what we learn from this verse. It is better to engage on one's own occupation because even though one may perform it imperfectly, because it is as per our nature, psycho nature, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Prescribed duties according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So better to do our duty as per our nature, isn't it? So Krishna real, and why he's telling all that, and even if it's done imperfectly, it doesn't matter, but do it as per your nature. All he wants is, Krishna wants us to come back. That's all he's more focused on. And and what we are trying to do? We are trying to give a lot of reasons for not doing it. So that is what he says. You do your duty as per your capability, as per your nature. And then all you need to do is go back to him with the Krishna consciousness. That's all you want. So this we have to find our own way and then work on the Krishna consciousness. Okay. And then one can obtain the results of renunciation simply by self-control and by becoming unattached to material things and disregarding material enjoyments. That is the highest perfectional stage of renunciation. This is the definition of karma, right? Now, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kansati. Just 1 minute. Excuse me. Just a second. in my house, a visitor. Okay. So one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to everything, every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So finally, he says Brahma, that is to be in this Krishna consciousness is always to be Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. He gives you only joy. Okay. And he is the one who doesn't lament nor desires to have anything, right? And he is looking at all the living entities with the equal darshana. So, and he can, how can he come to such state? He can do it only when he has pure devotional service to me. So, this is what thing. And how what happens?
Mataji, please repeat the previous one again and explain as far as you can.
See, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shoshati na kankshati sama sarvesha bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Isn't it? Now he's giving the what a self-realized person is. See, in the previous one, he said, no, this is the way we should highest perfection stage of renunciation. That is how by self-realized persons. So when we know self-realized persons, how he is there, he doesn't lament nor desire to have anything. That is the, when will it happen, such thing? It will happen only when we are attained the pure perfectional stage. Only that. I mean, we have to strive for that. That is our goal, to be self-realized. So, and how and we can do it only through our help association of devotees. That is true. That's why we say pure devotional service. We can attain that only with association of devotees. So, and when the people who are attained that, they are always happy. They are in the transcendental platform. So, they'll always be peaceful and joyous. So, it's not a state of unhappiness. It's a state of being happy. So, that's what, in fact, Prabhupada was always happy. He was peaceful and he was always in that state, whatever the troubles he had, I think he was never unhappy. He was always situated. He says, whatever you give, this is my spiritual order and I want to do, you have to help me. That's all he was all the time in Krishna consciousness. So when people are in that state, that means they are in the state of pure devotional service. This is the Bhasha. So one who can understand the Supreme Personality as he is, they can by devotional service. And we said, no, Krishna says, no, once there for such devotees, I give the understanding. And he is very merciful. And he says, I will only give the understanding. And later he will even destroy the ignorance which we have by giving us knowledge. So we have to get by Krishna's mercy only, and that we can get Krishna's mercy only by devotional service. And one is full consciousness of the Supreme Lord. By such devotion, he can enter the kingdom of God. So finally, he is always stressing devotional service. This is the verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Final verdict. We should understand him as he is. That is, he is the origin, cause of everything. He is the origin and he is the Supreme Soul and Paramatma in all that. So, though engaged in all kinds of activities, my devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode of my grace. So, the devotee will, the pure devotee goes under his shelter. That is how they will do all act. As I said, no, the 6 kinds of surrender. Once they surrender to him, they will be doing activities which are favorable to Krishna, and they don't do activities which is unfavorable. And they know that Krishna will give him protection. They are under his protection. So when they reach that, then he's telling, because they are under my protection, they will come to my abode without doubt. So, in fact, in this regard, there's something Mataji was telling us. There was a devotee asking Prabhupada, why are you creating, we are building a lot of temples in the midst of city. Actually, in the city, you will get a lot of distractions, no? Then, so many distractions are there, no? Especially in New York, when he was trying to have temple. He says, instead that, why can't we have the temple in a farm? Because then Krishna, Prabhupada was saying, this is Krishna consciousness. Why you want to get attracted? All you are getting attracted because your heart is impure. By chanting Hare Krishna, you will slowly, all these misgivings or attractions will go away and you will slowly get attracted to Krishna and not to the distractions. So this is the reason he says, you chant properly and continue preaching, then slowly all this will go away. You won't be disturbed by whether the temple is in a city or in a farm. It's all you have to do is just continue to chant properly. So that was the advice he was giving the thing. So now, mat chitta sarvas durgani, mat prasadat tarshyasi, atha chetat tvam ahankaram, na shoshasi vinakshasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If you, however, do not work in such consciousness and act through false ego and not hearing me, you will be lost. That means you are not in Krishna consciousness, you are under the Maya. So the choice is ours, whether you want to be in Krishna with Krishna consciousness or under illusion by the clutches of Maya. So he says, we should not act through a false ego and we should hear him. He keeps telling Arjuna, no, touch to know all the time and you will be lost. So, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridashe Arjuna Tishtati Brahmanyam Sarva Bhutani Etra Dani Mayaya. So now he's talking about a machine. A machine is made of material energy. Oh, Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So, this machine is nothing but a material energy. We are going from one life to another, never coming to the self-realization. So we should try to be look at our schedule and see why can't we schedule Krishna in our life. That's all we have to look at. It is very easy to do it but only thing we have to decide. Because unless you do that, you will not be happy. So here we have explained this, no? How this bird always been looking here, no? Trying to eat this fruit, that fruit. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's unhappy because the fruit was not good. But it doesn't try to look at the Krishna, which is the other bird, which is watching all what you are doing. That's a Paramatma. So only when we turn towards them, then we will slowly get detached from these material things. Okay. So we have to schedule Krishna consciousness into our life. Now he says, O Shan Bharata, surrender unto me, unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and the eternal board. So here we have Maharaja Orissa, no? So they will, where the Jagannath Puri is, festival held, no? The Maharaja is to come and as they pull the chariot, no? He used to clean the roads, They were very pious and very much devotions. They have say utter surrender into him. Thus I have explained to now he's very, very careful. He says, I've done everything. I've told you what to do. Utter surrender to me. Thus I have explained to you the most confidential of all knowledge. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. So now he's giving the choice to Arjuna. So I've told everything. You think about it properly and then do whatever you wish to do. So the choice is yours. So finally, he gives the choice to Arjuna. He says, you do what you wish to do. So what is he asking him to do? Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer a homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So this is important verse. Man mana bhava bhakto matyaji mam namaskaro mam eva evashyasi satyam te pratijana priyo asmi. So these are the 4 things to do. Think of me, be my devotee, worship me and offer a homage. Then he will surely come to me without fail. I promise you. He says, I promise you. So this is the promise which Krishna has given. So we should believe him. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is a very important message from Krishna. See, we think, I only now I've come to understand this Bhagavad Gita. I've done so many sins. Can I get any redemption? So here is what the answer is. So am I late in my life to do it, to start being in the Krishna's consciousness? Here he says, you abandon everything, just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is our answer for that. Okay. So if we start even now, it's not too late, and we don't know what, we don't need to worry about how many births we have taken or how we are going to go in the future. Just have to focus on this. Okay. Deliberate on this. This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of. He says, because this is a very confident, because people cannot understand. When they are envious of me, they cannot understand. So there's no point in trying to tell them. So he says, don't try to go and break your head on such thing. I explained to him, we are not austere or devoted or engaged. So he's advising us, why bother at all? But for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. At the end, he will come back to me. But what happens is the devotees know that Krishna wants everyone to come back to him, because he says, no, do a duty. And throughout, he's been telling that everything is me and you are just an instrument. So he is very merciful. And he also told us, no, if you cannot do pure devotion, then do sadhana bhakti. If you cannot do sadhana bhakti, at least you do nishtama karma yoga, that is offer the results to me. If you can't do that, then he's saying at least you do some charity. I mean, it keeps on giving us a lot of options, isn't it? Because he wants us to come back to it, to be in the path of Krishna self-realization, to be in the path of spiritual. So now he's telling devotees knows that. That is why they try to bring the living and trying to people, the fallen souls, into the path. So he says, for anyone who explains this secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. At the end, he will come back to me, because there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one. So this is, best example I can give is the Prabhupada, who was even at the age of the late 70s when he went all the way to US to deliver the give this Krishna consciousness to the conditioned souls, isn't it? So because he wanted them to come back to Krishna, and he gave, and he within 10 years he was. So he says, Krishna, he's there such devotees are more dear to him. So, and I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence, and who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions. So this is the benefits from here, because you have been listening to this so religiously in the last 18 days. This is the benefit attains to the planets where the pious dwell. So Arjuna, my dear Krishna, Arjuna, now what does Arjuna say? Arjuna says, my dear Krishna, oh infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I've regained my memory by your mercy, and I'm now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions. So Krishna gave him the choice, no? You do what you want. Now Arjuna declares in this verse 18.73. Now let us see what Sanjaya says. Sanjaya said, thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. So much is enamored. He was so blissful, so happy to have listened to this Bhagavad Gita. By the mercy of Vyasa, I've heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of this system, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. So he was thankful to Vyasadeva for giving him this opportunity. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. He's so very, very happy. O king, when I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with even great wonder and I rejoice again and again. He keeps on telling about his wonder and joy. And finally, what he says, this is nice verse. Etra Yogeshwara Krishno, etra Pato Dhanodaraha, tatra Sri Vijaya Bhutha, Dhruva Nitu Matir Mama. So, wherever there's Krishna, the master of all mistakes, and wherever there's Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will always also certainly be Lakshmi. That is opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. That's what Sanjaya finally says. Etra Yogeshwara Krishno, etra Pato Dhano Daraha, tatra Sri Vijayo Bhote, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Okay. So finally, we come to the conclusion. I think with this, we end our chapter 18. So we went through again Karma Yoga, 5 factors of action, 3 modes. We saw the modes of nature, how it controls everything. And then only by purification, how we are doing our prescribed duties and not to copy somebody else's thing. We should do as per nature and we should schedule Krishna consciousness into our life. Pure bhakti, acting in Krishna consciousness. So, and what is the benefit of listening to this Bhagavad Gita? We saw finally, that's that. So, utter surrender, think of Krishna all the time, be his devotee, worship him and pay homage because he is the source of everything and he is the cause. So, let us allow Krishna into our lives. And this Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, is to show Krishna. Our process is to show Krishna consciousness as it is and not others want to see it. So this is the process and the process works. The process of Krishna consciousness works and we have a lot of evidence to see and it is done. So with this I end our thing. And enroll for level 2. I think you will get this link when you complete the 18th day quiz. Okay. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatu abhyascha kripa sindhu abhayevacha patitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please chant and be happy. And as a donation for the temple, as a service, if you feel this course was nice, you can bring in, you can tell your friends and all that. And you can get others also for this course, or also in kind or in thing, you can donate for the temple. Hare Krishna. I'll stop sharing and I'll also